So cool, yeah. Thank you guys. We're just really blessed by what you're doing, and it's so cool. All right, so let's share a little bit of the word. I will be shorter tonight because I wanted to share those things. It's kind of cool though, isn't it? Yeah. Right? It's not just me happy about that, is it? Okay. Yeah, so connecting people to God's heart. I know this is just what I want to share. Because sometimes we talk about new foundations. We just kind of go after the gospel, finding, who Jesus is and what Jesus has done for us over and over in the Bible. And then sometimes over there we talk about growth and discipleship. So, we spent a month or so on spiritual authority recently, right? Prayer and spiritual authority. Really, I think we mined that pretty good. There's more we could do, but that's good for now. And then right now I want to talk about it's kind of a twofer: family relationships and ministry and leadership. Relationships and leadership, essentially. I want to talk a little bit about it tonight. And the idea of just connecting people to God's heart. Because we have, there's several mottos we use in church. Discover love, love boldly, right? Based on 1 John 4:19. We love because he first loved us. And that's just an absolute pattern for me and for us, right? To discover his love, receive his love freely, fully, abundantly, and then give it away, right? And, we talk about living boldly and loving boldly and leading boldly. That's something that speaks to me. Then we also, one of the little mottos or sayings we use is connecting people to God's heart. And that one's real personal to me, because I feel like that's really what I want to do, is help people get connected to God's heart, right? But there's kind of a three-step process to this, really, if we break it down a little bit more. The first one is getting ourselves connected to God's heart, right? Can't really help somebody else get connected if you're not, right? So the first kind of thing is really just to build our connection with God personally. And that's not really something that we do. We just respond, isn't it? God's the one who reaches out to us, isn't he? By his grace, by his love, God reaches out to us, and we respond, and we continue to respond and build our relationship with God. And then kind of the second part of this is that we learn how to connect with other people. And again, I really feel like Christians really need help with this, right? I mean, people in general need help with it, but Christians, we're supposed to be experts at this, aren't we? How to connect with people and deepen and improve those connections. We should be good at it. We should be very good at it. And so the next thing then is we actually learn. That's what I kind of want to talk about tonight, really, a little bit, is learning to connect better and more deeply with more people, and more deeply with the people that God puts in our lives. And then the third thing about this is, once you make connections with people, really what's the goal or the purpose of making a connection with another person is to help them to get connected to God, isn't it? Generally. And that's my feeling about it, because that's just my passion. I want to see anybody and everybody get connected to God. Whether it's my loved ones, whether it's church members, whether it's a stranger I just meet. My thought always is, I want to help through our connection. I want you to get a better connection with God. It's always my thought. And the reason that's my passion is because, God's presence and love impacted my life, and that's where my passion is. So, really your passion to connect other people with God is going to be based on your own connection with God, isn't it? If that's something that's really a passion for you, then it's going to translate into, wow, I want to help other people get connected, right? And that's really my thought. And it's kind of the thought that I want to continue to pour into us as a house here, as a family, is just to have that thought be part of us. I want to help. I want to make a connection with somebody. I want to deepen a connection with somebody, right? I want to make a new connection. I want to fix a broken connection. I always want to make connections, right? And improve relationships with people and be good at it. Be wise about it, and be good at it. And then always part of it for me, honestly, is I want to help them through that connection with me. I want to help somebody get more connected to God. Right? It's not just about my relationship and then I keep God in a box over here. Right? And Jesus always did that too. Remember, Jesus was drawing people to himself. He would say, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy." That one's up there, isn't it? Matthew 11:28, I think. I have that in the list. It's not in order right now, but Jesus would say, "Yeah, come to me." And Jesus was all about connection, wasn't he? Always building connections with people. The people around him, and actually God kind of challenged me today with that question, because I was just, kind of waiting on the Lord and where to go this weekend. And God really began to speak to me about this, about getting good at building connections, right? And being purposeful proactive about building more connections with people, deeper connections with people, and began to, impress on me the thought of Jesus. That's what he did. Jesus, he built connections. But God kind of challenged me with the question, did everything Jesus say, was everything Jesus said pleasant? Not at all. Sometimes he was correcting his disciples. Sometimes he was confronting the Pharisees. He called them snakes or something at one point, right? Not everything Jesus said was pleasant. Isn't that true? But the Lord really impressed on me, it wasn't everything that Jesus said trying to build connections with himself and with the Father. In one way or another, wasn't it trying to ultimately build connections? And I kind of took that challenge, began to look through some of the things that Jesus was saying, and it really does go there. So, Jesus was saying, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. Come to me, be connected to me, right? And he said that in other places. He said it in John 7, if you're thirsty, come to me and drink. Right? And he said in another place, let the little children come to me. Right? And over he said this, come to me. And then we also see the Father says that in 2 Corinthians, come to me and I will receive you and I will be a father to you. Right? And so God's trying to make this connection, but Jesus also said, look at John 14:2. It's in the list, but I'm quoting it completely out of order, so you just got to go with it there. Yeah, Jesus said to people, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. So he's talking about come to me, but then he says in my Father's house. Right? So clearly what's Jesus doing again? Build a connection with himself. But then he wants to take you where? To the Father, right? Yeah, and he does the same thing in John 15, verse 1. I think that's right there, too. He said, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. So he says, come to me and, be part of me. I'll be the vine, you be the branches, get connected to me. He's talking about connection, but then he says, and my Father is the vine dresser. He's the caretaker of this plant, right? He's the farmer here. And so Jesus, he did this over and over and over, especially in the Gospel of John. He would say, come to me, and then he would say, now, meet my Father. Right? And he was trying to bridge that, right? Always trying to. So that's the model for us too, is build relationships with people, isn't it? And then say, but what I really want is to introduce you to God. Right? Yeah, to help you connect with God. And because we want to represent God correctly. That's the thing you're talking about there in Nicaragua, right? And I've seen that in churches in Mexico too. We've dealt with that, for years, that some of those churches, they're so law-based. They just beat people up, and what do you say? Somebody's twins died and basically they got the message. Okay, and they got the message because you did something wrong, right? It's like, oh, are you kidding? Really? Yeah, and that kind of thinking is common, with people that it's just bad teaching. But we want to represent God correctly, don't we? Because do you want to connect with a God who kills your kids if you do something wrong? And maybe you didn't even do anything wrong. It's not representing God correctly at all. And so we do want to go after that stuff, don't we? We do. We absolutely do. We want to challenge that. We want to speak the truth, and we want to represent God correctly. And but my goal always is to build a connection, and then to lead that connection back to Jesus. And that's what he said. I'm the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Look at. John 15:15. I read that verse all the time. When Jesus said, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. He said, come to me and drink if you're thirsty, right? And he made that connection. And then for those that respond to that connection, you know what he does? Then he says, okay, now let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Right? So that's why he said, I love this verse, we read it all the time. No longer do I call you servants. A servant doesn't know what his master's doing, but I have called you friends. All things that I've heard from my Father, I've made known to you. And so he's talking to guys, this is at the end of his ministry. He's almost ready to go to the cross. He's talking to guys that he's walked with for 3 years, right? And he's saying, the relationship we've had is cool. You've come to me. We have a connection. But he said, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper, right? And I love that about him. Let's go to a place where you don't just do things because I tell you to. You do things because you know my heart. Because I'm opening my heart to you. I'm opening the Father's heart to you, right? You do things because you're in love with me and we're friends and we're close and we have the same heartbeat here. Not just because I tell you to. right? Right? But I love that about Jesus. If you respond to him, he says, cool, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Isn't that a model for us? To go deeper with the people in our lives that God puts in our lives? Yeah. Now, I know practically, can you have a deep relationship with everybody around you? No, it's impossible. I know that. Right? You're one person, limited time, limited resources. You can only be in one place at one time. Even Jesus, God in the flesh, could only be in one place at one time. He had limited time, in that sense. And so even Jesus had to prioritize where he invested his time, where he invested his attention, his love, where he built the deepest connections. He had to. Right? He had to. So he couldn't be, intimately, as a man on earth, he couldn't be intimately connected to hundreds or thousands of people. This can't happen. But resurrected Jesus through the Holy Spirit can have an intimate relationship with every one of us, huh? Yay. Hallelujah. And he wants to, and he calls us deeper. But the model for us is, no, you don't have to have a deep connection with everybody, but the people that God puts in your life, right? The people that God put them in your circle. These are the people close to your heart some way or another. Man, the goal is to just deepen that connection, right? Build that connection, deepen the connection if possible. Does everybody want to do that? No, they don't. Not everybody does. And you can't make it happen, but you can offer it. You can try, right? And people that do respond, that's what Jesus said to the people that did respond, thank you, now let's go deeper. Right? So, we want to go deeper with the people that we have in our lives. And then when God brings somebody into your life, basically, you want to say, as a way of thinking, a habit of thinking, I want to build a connection with you, so that I can help you connect to God. But I want it to be a heart-to-heart connection, right? That's what Jesus said. I don't want you to do something just because I tell you. I want you to do something because there's a heart-to-heart connection here. Okay? I want that to be what motivates you, is this connection, this love, this deepening intimacy. And that's kind of a model for us as witnesses, is to connect with people more, right? Just more. And then help them connect to the heart of God. But I kind of took the challenge a little bit, when God impressed that challenge on me today. Like, some of the things that Jesus said were unpleasant, right? If you were on the receiving end of some of those things, it would sting a little bit, wouldn't it? Right? Absolutely. Look at one of them. Matthew 23:13. This was not to his disciples. This was to the Pharisees. Jesus was actually talking to the Pharisees. And look at what he said. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. You neither go in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. That's unpleasant, isn't it? It's confrontational, isn't it? It's direct and... But why is he saying that? Is Jesus' goal to increase connection between people and God? Absolutely. Why is he angry at the Pharisees? Because they're blocking it. They're blocking it. That's why he's upset at these people. Because they're religious and they're right? They're self-righteous and holier than everybody, and they're religious. And did I say religious? And they're religious too. And and Jesus blasts them. He absolutely blasts them. Whoa, Pharisees, hypocrites. But it's because of your religion and because you impose yourself on people in an ungodly way for control and for status and for whatever else you get out of this, you're actually keeping people out of heaven. You're actually keeping people from seeing the heart of God and entering into a relationship with God because of your heavy imposition of religion. Wow. You don't go in yourselves and you don't let other people go in. Jesus is mad. Is it okay to be mad to be upset when people are misrepresenting God and causing, through religion to keep people from actually wanting to know God? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go after it. Yes. No, go after it. Go after it. And I mean, Jesus did. He did he win a popularity contest doing this? Probably not. Probably not. They crucified him, But hey, not, Anyway, look at one of the other occasions when Jesus, corrected his own disciples, though. Luke 9:51-56. I think I have that there. And, we could, for times when Jesus corrected his disciples, we could pick out any one of dozens and dozens of times, right? Because if you read the New Testament, there's lots of them. Here's one. It came to pass that when the time had come for Jesus to be received up, that he steadfastly set his face to Jerusalem and sent messengers before his face. And as they went, they entered the village of the Samaritans to prepare for him. He has to travel through Samaria, right, apparently, to go where he's going. But they did not receive him because his face was set for the journey to Jerusalem. The Samaritans and the Jews, right, didn't get along. And so they said, you can't walk through our neighborhood, and, blah, blah, blah. So when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them? Just like Elijah did. And they were just a little bit excited about the possibility of this, weren't they? Yeah. Let's be honest. They kind of were like, come on. Yeah, Elijah did it, and he did it. It doesn't mean it was the heart of God. He just did it. And he had authority, and God backed him up. It doesn't mean it was God's heart, though, what happened. So these guys are like, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down and just toast these guys? And they're excited, and they're angry too, because don't we get kind of, we get this, hey, you can't be against my guy here, we're gonna have a showdown. And so what does Jesus do? Yeah, let's toast these guys. No, not at all, right? What does he say? But he turned and rebuked them and said, you do not know what manner of spirit you're of. You're being motivated by a spirit right now, and by pride, and by habitual way of thinking, and by ego, and by some spiritual, ugliness here. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking out of. And he said, for the Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. They went to another village. So Jesus corrects them, and it's kind of painful probably for them. But again, does this pass the test of everything Jesus says about, everything Jesus says, one way or another, is trying to increase connection between God and people. Isn't that true? Absolutely. Why does he rebuke them so clearly and sharply for this? Because their heart was about, let's destroy people, right? And Jesus said, I came to save people. It doesn't matter if they're not going to let me go through their neighborhood. I'm not, I love them. I'm here to save them, if possible. Okay? You got to get your heart aligned with the heart of God, right? And so Jesus did get angry about some stuff, and he did bring correction in some very tough confrontational things sometimes. But if you check them out over and over and over, it kind of passes the test. What he's really after is trying to increase connection. Okay? Okay. So how can we... Is it legitimate to say then that we should have a goal of being like better connectors with people? Absolutely. And there are times when we're going to speak something that's corrective or even confrontational. There are times, but for the most part, I think that our goal should be to be good connectors. Okay? Because how can you help connect somebody to God's heart unless you build a connection with them first, right? It's just common sense, kind of. And Jesus, after the resurrection, he said, as the Father sent me, I also send you, right? And so we know that if Jesus spent all this time trying to build connections with his disciples, investing time into them, drawing them close, deepening the connection, and then making connection with other people, even the multitudes, maybe he could only touch them once. He brought a healing, he brought a teaching, he brought a word. Maybe it was only a moment, but it was still a connection, right? And if Jesus was trying to build connection everywhere he went, as deep as possible given the time allowed, given the openness of the heart in the situation, then he said, as the Father sent me, so I send you. Okay? That's good. So when he says, to be a witness in the world, I'm all about being a witness in the world. I really am. But part of it is when possible, we want to do this through connection, isn't it? We want to be good at this. And I mean, how many pastors do you know that have lost their kids because they were too religious, too heavy-handed, and too legalistic or whatever, right? High pressure with their own kids. And then when their kids got old enough, they're like, I am so out of here, and I don't want your God either. Does it happen? We all know stories of it. We all know stories of it, right? And wow, what was missing there? Connection with the heart of your own child, or your own children, right? It's connection, right? Because if you build a connection that's genuine and good and deep and open, fulfilling, if possible, right, then they're open to your God also. And you help bring a connection to your God, right? And, again, does it always work nice and easily? No. Boy, there's curveballs in life, isn't there? I get that. But, and some people are just going to say no. Sometimes just people don't want to. But for our part, that's our heart, isn't it? That's our heart to do that. Let's see if there's anything else here I really wanted to. Yeah, so just a couple of things. How to be a better connector. Just a few ideas. One, first of all, is just adopt that as your goal, consciously, purposely. Say, I understand the value of connecting with people, right? Not just being a religious person, not just being a Christian, and not just, telling people about Jesus, but I understand the value of purposely building connections with people. Heart to heart, genuine connections. With the time I have, you can't be everybody's best friend, can you? You can't. But Jesus modeled this, right? He poured the most into his first three, Peter, James, and John. He poured a lot into the 12. He poured into the 70. And then there was multitudes, right? And he prioritized his time. But basically, he was all about building connection. And the people that were closest to him rightly so, got the most of his love, his attention, and investment into them. So we just want to adopt that. When after the resurrection, when he said, as the Father sent me, now I send you. And I think that just speaks volumes. We want to be good connectors with the goal of then helping people get connected to God. One of the things we do need to do, Proverbs 29:25. Again, I'm very out of order here, but go with it. One of the things we want to do, before you even read that verse, is overcome rejection. Right? Right? Overcome rejection. That's why we have Sozo Ministry, by the way. And because most people have been touched by rejection to some degree, and the effect it tends to have on us then is we don't feel comfortable connecting with other people, do we? Because we feel like I'm not accepted, I'm rejected, I'm not as good as you, you're not going to like me. We fear rejection, right? If I even reach out to you, you'll reject me. Right? If I expose if I make myself vulnerable to you, right, I'm going to get hit. It's gonna hurt me, and whatever it may be, rejection, has taken a toll on most of us to some degree, and that's why we have Sozo Ministry, because if you're haunted by rejection and it limits what you do, how good of a connector are you going to be? Not very. Right? That's going to be, Satan's strategy is to divide and conquer, right? God's strategy is connect and conquer, right? So if Satan won and he convinced you that being divided and being separated and being alone and being safe and being defensive or whatever it may be, being withdrawn, whatever, if he convinced you that that's the safe place, he kind of won that one. And so you want to declare war on that and overcome it, right? Right? And learn to be a connector. Learn to be somebody who but again, you have to overcome the rejection, because rejection makes you feel inferior. Right? It does. And you're like, how can I reach out to this person if I feel inferior to them? If I feel intimidated by them, right? That's what it says, the fear of man brings a snare. Usually that verse is talking about just doing things because you don't want people to judge you or people to criticize you, which is true, genuinely. But basically, fear of rejection is the same thing, isn't it? It really is the same snare, and it holds you back. So you have to come to the place on purpose where you don't feel inferior to anybody. You don't have to feel better than them, just not inferior, right? You got to feel like you're an ambassador of Christ, and you're loved, and you're valued, and you're safe, and you're not about protecting yourself. Your goal in life is not to protect yourself and avoid being hurt again. Your goal in life is to connect with people and be a blessing, and give love, and provide leadership. If I've been rejected and hurt, now you're telling me my goal is to become a leader and to provide leadership to people? Yes! Yes, absolutely. Overcome it, right? Overcome that thing. And get to the place. How can I even do that? 1 John 4:19, we love because he first loves us, right? Get healed. If you want to make a sozo appointment, or if you've been through 3 already and you still got more to go for it again. Overcome that stuff, right? I mean, declare war on that stuff. And get to the place where you don't feel inferior, you don't feel rejected, you don't fear rejection. Like, God is your source of love. God is your source of confidence, right? God is your source of fulfillment, right? You're not desperately needing somebody to approve you or accept you or whatever, affirm you or whatever it may be. God is that for you, right? Now, I know that God wants us to have healthy relationships that minister to each other, right? I totally get that. I have that, right? That's a healthy thing. That's a good thing. But at the core, though, God is really the one who's our supplier, right? And so, part of the whole sozo experience is get to where, man, I'm not living out of insecurity and rejection anymore. I'm not living out of inferiority and, withdrawal or self-protective anything. I'm the person who brings it, right? I'm the person who brings it. Wherever I go, I'm the person who's got extra to give away, right? I've got love, I've got joy, I've got confidence, I've got a relationship with God, I got fresh bread from heaven. I'm the person who brings it, right? And I'm not walking into a room saying, I hope somebody here likes me, I hope somebody's nice to me, I hope somebody accepts me. You're the person who walks in and say, I'm probably going to change somebody's life today, right? Or at bare minimum, I'm going to bless somebody. At bare minimum, I'm going to walk in and be a blessing. That's it, right? You've got to think that way. You've got to think that way. And it's got to be genuine, right? And that's what Jesus will do for you. You let him, right? Yeah, he wants that. He really wants it. Overcome rejection. It's an enemy. Be the person who brings it. I want to say that like 20 times, but you'll get it. And I'll keep saying it. 2 Timothy 1, 6 and 7 says the same thing. I think we read this verse recently on overcoming fear a lot, right? So therefore I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. Paul speaking to Timothy. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, intimidation, timidity, right? But of power and love and a sound mind. So he says, stir up the gift. Why am I doing that? So you can be the person that brings it. Amen? You're the person that brings it. Right? You're not the person waiting to see what's going to happen. See if somebody's going to be mean to me and how I'm going to react and if I'm going to have a devastating emotional breakdown again because somebody doesn't like me. You're the person who brings it. You're the person who walks into the room overflowing with God's presence and love. You've learned how to connect with that, right? You're the person who brings it. You're not the person who's intimidated. You're not the person who's shy and timid. You're the person who's got love to give. And your source is God, right? Man, gotta get that. And then Acts 20, let's read this one, 32 to 35. It's kind of similar. Before I read the verse, I'll tell you where I'm going with this. One of the things to be a better connector, if your goal is to be a good connector of people, one of the things is basically, again, consciously realize if you look to other people to meet your needs a lot, whether it's emotional, financial, physical, whatever it is, if you look to other people to meet your needs, please don't misunderstand me. In healthy relationships, we do meet each other's needs. I get that. That's good and that's healthy. But generally, if you're in a situation where you're needy, insecure, and you're not getting it from God, but you're putting pressure on other people to meet your needs, to make you feel okay, to make you feel wanted, to make you feel whatever it is, or to take care of you or whatever it may be, you're in a very vulnerable position, aren't you? You're in a very weak position there. And what that turns you into is a taker rather than a giver. Okay? And again, in a healthy relationship, there's plenty of giving and taking. Okay? In a healthy relationship, there's balance of both. And if you're blessed to have healthy relationships, that's good, right? We want those. And when you build connections with people, you'll have more healthy relationships, right? You will. You absolutely will. But generally, what I'm talking about, though, is if at the core of your being you're insecure and needy and not getting it from God, you're going to be a taker more than a giver. You just are. And how will you know? How do you identify that? You're always going to be mad at somebody because they're not meeting your need. But you're supposed to be the person bringing it. Ow, ow. You're generally always going to feel afraid and insecure, right? You're generally going to be disappointed and angry. You're generally going to, this kind of thing. It's not a good place to be. It's not a good position. Or some people don't get their needs met from God, but they actually willfully learn how to manipulate people and use people, right? That's a really bad thing. It's really bad stuff. But most Christians that I know that have a problem with this are more on the side of, I feel insecure, I feel needy, and I'm needing somebody to, help me. But the problem is that you're in a very weak position. It's not the way Jesus wants you to be living. And basically, relationships tend to be short and easily broken that way because, the emotional bank account, if you're always withdrawing but not depositing, they're going to close your account. So if you find that people just don't want to be around you for long periods of time, over the periods of months and years, people don't want to continue relationships with you, that might be a problem, right? Is not getting your need met from God, but looking to people. And lots of Christians do that. Lots of Christians do that. So here in Acts 20:32, now, brethren, I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and give you an inheritance among all those who are sanctified. This is the Apostle Paul speaking to the church in Ephesus, that he had raised up that church and then traveled other places, and then he'd put elders in place, and then he came back to this church again later on and is giving them kind of he's just talking to them. He's on a journey. He can't stay. But he says, brethren, I commend you to God. And he says, I have coveted no one's silver or gold or apparel. Yes, you yourselves know that these hands have provided for my necessities and for those who were with me. I have shown you in every way by laboring like this that you must support the weak and remember the words of the Lord Jesus when he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. All right. And I just read all that to get to that last point. But basically in the context here, Paul was talking to the Ephesian church and he's saying, on a natural level, I didn't look to you for my needs, right? On a natural level, I came in here, what was Paul, a tent maker, right? I think historically they say so he worked. He said, I worked with my own hands, I provided for my own needs, and I brought you the gospel. Right? I didn't covet anybody's gold or silver or anything else. And I get crazy when I hear about preachers that have a special offering and say, everybody throw in your jewelry and your electronics. Have you ever heard this? I've heard this over and over. I've heard it again recently. And throw in your jewelry, throw in your electronics. It's a special prosperity offering. Yeah, for you. But Paul is saying, I didn't want anything from you. I wanted to bring you the gospel. Jesus said it's more blessed to give than to receive, right? So, yeah. So what am I talking about? But if you're a person that doesn't get your needs from God, but you look to other people, right? It puts you in the position of ultimately of being a taker in a very, very weak position. But if you learn again, go to God. We love because he first loves us. Fill up with God's love, overcome rejection, overcome, whatever that stuff is, and be the person who brings it. Be the person who brings it. Y'all know what I'm saying, what I mean when I say that, right? Be the person who brings it, right? And man, if that's one thing I could want for every single one of us in this church tonight and 2 services tomorrow, and everybody that comes on, not everybody comes weekly, but on a monthly basis, if I could get you all together at once and get this one thing, get you free from insecurity and get free from rejection, and know that you are the person who brings it, right? Hook up with God and you be the person that brings it. When you walk into a room, you're bringing blessing, right? You're the person that people are going to look to and say, oh, that person, I feel safe around that person. I feel blessed around that person. I feel loved by that person, right? You're the person who brings it. If I could get that one thing, you guys would just be explosive. Just be amazing. Yeah. Okay. Just one more thought on the, maybe a couple more thoughts, and then we're gonna pray. Another thing is, because I'm really just talking mostly tonight about being better connectors, right? That's what I'm trying to get across, is why we want to do this and what this means, what this looks like. We want to do it because that's how we help people get connected to God. One of the other things we do is just, I know no other way to say this except just as simply as possible, that everything we say and do either increases connection or it decreases connection, right? With every person in your life, family members, loved ones, friends, coworkers, whoever it is, whoever God's put in your life, there has to be a consciousness that becomes part of us, that everything I say and everything I do either increases connection or it decreases connection. And I think that one idea, and that's leadership thinking though. That is leadership thinking, right? So if you don't think like a leader, that's a very strange thought to you. You're like, what do I care? If I get mad, I'm going to blow my top and yell. So what? I was right because you made me mad. Okay. If that's how you're thinking, you're just not at a leadership thinking yet at all. But I really want to get you there, right? Because, everything you do and say builds connection or breaks connection. And when you start to have that consciousness, that awareness, and it becomes part of you, and it's a filter, right? It'll change your life. It really will. It'll change your life. To increase connection. Again, you can't be everybody's best friend. That's not what I'm saying. But to increase connection, every word has an effect one way or the other. A lot of times I talk about the emotional bank account too, right? And everything's either a deposit or a withdrawal, if you think about it that way. Just like in the bank, it's either a deposit or a withdrawal. Everything is the plus or a negative in your bank account. That's how it works. In our relationships with people, everything we say, everything we do is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Is that true? It is. And when we are conscious of that, it's the same thing I just said. Everything we do either increases connection or it decreases connection. So if I'm angry and I just feel like I'm just going to blow my top and I have the right to do that. Right? Okay. I hope it was worth it because you just decreased connection. Maybe a lot. Maybe really hard to fix that. Okay, I hope it was worth it. But if you learn not to do that, right? Learn not to do that. Is it okay to confront issues? Yes. Confronting issues with truth and love actually increases connection most of the time. And if it doesn't work, it's not your fault. It's still the right thing to do. Right? So if there's something that just needs to be confronted, it needs to be addressed, do it. Do it with love, do it directly, do it with grace, do it with honor, do it with respect, but do it. Yeah. And it's the right thing to do. Most of the time it'll increase connection. Not always. Even Jesus had Judas. Right? Todd and I were talking about this earlier. Right? Was Jesus a perfect leader? I think so. He was a perfect leader. Yeah. Did he still have drama and conflicts and problems among his disciples? For 3 years straight. And after the resurrection, still had conflicts among his disciples and leaders, didn't he? Still did. He was a perfect leader. Still had it. Even Jesus had Judas. Okay? Even Jesus had Judas. But because he worked on those connections, even though one was a complete failure, he had 11 amazing leaders come out of it. Okay? Was it worth it? Yeah, absolutely. So everything you do, that's where I was at on this. Everything you do, just, I don't know how else to say it except to repeat it over and over. Yeah, make it part of your heart. Everything you do, the expression on your face, the tone of your voice, the words you choose, the things you do, either increase connection or they decrease connection. Everything we do that is self-motivated decreases connection. It does. What I mentioned a minute ago, if we look to other people to meet our needs, very needy and dependent, for people to meet our needs, it decreases connection. It ultimately places too much pressure on people and they withdraw from you. Really? In a healthy, I'm talking, again, there are healthy relationships where it's balanced and we meet each other's needs. It's a good thing, I know. But basically, Everything you do, you got it. And the one thought I just want to close with again. The goal in a relationship is to increase connection so that you can help them connect to God, right? Yeah. That's my passion. And then just one final thought, because again, when I say broad things like this, are there exceptions? Yes, always. Some people are toxic. Is that true? Yes. Yeah, some people are toxic. Some people are they're just whatever, for whatever reason, they're not likely to change or not likely to change anytime soon, and a relationship with them is going to be hurtful, toxic, and damaging. So what should you do? Stay the heck away from them. Put up boundaries. Say no, right? Okay. So there's an exception to everything I just said, right? If somebody's just basically toxic, yeah, put up a boundary. Say no. Can I take advantage of you again? No. Are you sure? Can I take advantage of you, please? No. Right? Okay. So you got that, right? There are boundaries. There are boundaries. But otherwise, yeah. All right, let's pray. That was just a smorgasbord, and take from it whatever worked for you. Let's pray. So yeah, let's stand together maybe and just ask God a couple of questions. Thanks, Mark. There you go. So, first of all, I just want to pray for you. Father, I pray that everybody in this house will become better and better at relationships, better and better at being connectors. I pray that the anointing and the gifting will increase here for every person to be just good and wise at relationships, to not sabotage relationships and not understand why. And I pray that every person in this house will truly become one of the people that just brings it. They'll truly become one of the people that just carries an overflow of love, carry an overflow of acceptance and the presence of God and grace. Yeah. I pray that every person in this house will not only have wisdom in relationships, anointing in relationships, God, I pray that they will increasingly become people of leadership. And that they will become people who are delivered from rejection, delivered from inferiority, delivered from intimidation, delivered from the fear of rejection, delivered from the fear of man in every way, God. And there will be people who are just truly ambassadors of heaven. Know that they are princes and princesses in a royal family, ambassadors of Christ. God, let that anointing increase on everybody here. Yeah, in fact, just drink that in. Maybe lift your hands or whatever. Lift your face. Let the anointing of leadership fall upon you. Let the anointing of leadership increase upon you right now. Let the gifting and anointing for wisdom and relationships increase upon you. Again, I pray that this anointing, the gifting of the Holy Spirit will lead you and teach you in specific situations. Because I'm giving some broad principles here, and there's multitudes of exceptions and multitudes of little cases where you have to do things a little differently. I'm just giving a broad principle, and I just pray that God will show you how to use this and how to have wisdom. In fact, ask the Lord now, just between you and Him. Maybe who's a person still, again, that you want to increase connection with? Maybe God would highlight a person in your life that you haven't really reached out to, or it's a person who's maybe new in your life, or a coworker, or a neighbor, or a friend that he wants you to build a connection with for his purpose. Or maybe it's a family member or a loved one that God's just saying you really need to increase this connection. You really need to value and deepen this connection. Or maybe there's a person that God would impress on you. There's a damaged connection that really needs some repair. And maybe you didn't cause all the damage, but maybe part of it. Maybe you could reach out to repair the connection with a humble spirit. Truly, the riches of heaven are relationships. That's how God sees us, and he wants us to think the same way. The true riches are relationships. Maybe just ask the Lord too, just impress on you. If there's a person he's highlighting to you in any way in your life to increase or fix or make a connection, ask him how. Lord, how shall I deepen that connection or build that connection or make that connection or fix something broken? Most of the time you ask God that question, he begins to impress some things on you pretty quickly, usually. You'll know it's him. You might feel like there's a situation where God is telling you to increase a connection, but in some way you were offended by the other person. They did something that offended you in some way. They did something that you felt caused distance. And God might be saying to you, hey, just let it go. Just let it go. Jesus walked through the village of the Samaritans, and they said, you can't come through our neighborhood. And Jesus said, I still love you, and I still came to save you. So maybe God's impressing on you to build a relationship where there's been an offense, but there's value in the relationship. You need to go after it. You be the person that brings it. It's just my final prayer before we close. I just want you to just say yes to that. You be the person that brings it. Right? God, make me the person that brings it. Make me the person that brings it. That brings the love, that brings the connection, that brings the grace, that brings the leadership, that brings the repair. good. I think we're good for tonight. Thank you for being here. I love you guys. Hang out for, I don't know what we have tonight.